Hello, I'm Tam, the TamBoTC channel. I want to talk real quick about something. I've seen tier lists from different, I guess, Mass Effect YouTubers where they put Mass Effect Andromeda over Mass Effect 3 as if 3 is the worst. I do not agree with this for several reasons. Andromeda is clearly the worst one for various reasons, and especially important reasons to why Mass Effect is so good in the first place. Even 3. Matter of fact, 3 does things even better than both 2 and 1, in my opinion. The game is like one of the games that actually makes me cry legitimately the most in the series. It has the cojones to kill off characters. It has an actual sense of danger, and it is where the sense of danger for the universe is at its highest. Great story. A majority of the game is more pros than have pros that overpower the cons, and it has amazing character development and depth that it goes into, and it's just such a well balanced game. One of the other than glitches back in the day, which honestly glitches in a game, some of the older games, unless it was something like Ride to Hell Retribution and such, really didn't seem like as big a deal, especially now compared to the glitchy ass games we've gotten today, from Fallout 76 to the original launch of Cyberpunk to so many other pieces of crap that we've gotten in those conditions. And it's just an absolute, it's just looks like nothing now. Even Andromeda was one of those games. I still have problems in Andromeda where I've had sound cut out on me in the multiplayer. Matter of fact, I don't like the multiplayer of Andromeda, as not only is the character selection weak compared to the third game, even though it does need that online access thing. There's also the fact that it just repeats the whole loot box scenario again, and the maps are not as interesting as well. The enemies aren't as interesting to fight against, comparatively so. Um, and you need to know that certain elements of your game need to complement it as well as each other, as well as I'm going to talk about some of the elements, and I'm going to try and go through it real quick. But so first off, Mass Effect Andromeda does not have that same sense of danger. It tries to do certain things, but not only are the enemies lackluster, there's an obvious plot twist, so you can telegraph, see like miles away or whatever. Um, and it's got Funyun Ringhead. He's like a nobody. So many of the previous villains, Elusive Man, Harbinger, Sovereign, Saren, are all more memorable, iconic, and well-developed villains, where this guy is just kind of there. And your squad mates are very forgettable too. Like, I don't remember most of them. You either got the typical Krogan, who's meant to be the weight and warrior of the team, but he's not as memorable or iconic or even well developed as Grunt and Rex, or even as interesting. Um, all we know really is that he knows Vetra and such, and that's just not enough. He's got a cool design, but that's the other thing. This game reminds me it's a game more than any game does, because not only are a lot of the character models, like Turian models and all that, look really awful. Like, you know how you could take 3 or 4 designs of different Turians throughout all of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, and they would all look very different and unique from one another. Well, most of them look the same while also just being really ugly with their textures and really plain with their designs in Mass Effect Andromeda. And it's like, what the hell happened here? Vetra's the only one, and every time I talk to another bad looking character model or bland character model, it just reminds me how much more I'm in a video game and how terrible this is. Where Mass Effect 1 through 3 have always transported me to a different world, as if I knew these characters and people like real people in real life, and they were like my dearest friends. or love interests, whatever they may be. And I loved that about Mass Effect. It was one of the best games to do that sort of thing for me. The gameplay, you can obviously tell they used similar elements for Anthem. There are cool abilities, but I feel like here's where the complementary thing. The gameplay looks flashy and cool and does feel good, but the enemies and AI I'm using it on are not fun. They're dumb, glitchy sometimes. I still have T-posing enemies from time to time, and is just not. It's not a great time when I feel like the gameplay looks impressive and cool and does feel great, but it freaking isn't complemented because of the enemies and stuff. At least the game has wildlife. It also has that very open world, or just life in general. At least it has that typical open, like, it's got that typical open world. Oh, what happened there? It's got that typical, I don't know if it's recording anymore, but it's got that typical open world that feels very Ubisoft-ish. I hate the puzzles in the game too. There's some really terrible puzzles that I just do not understand for the life of me. So the sense of danger, the character, it's even got fake RPG elements. You either got the pictures telling you what does what. None of your characters are really going to die at the end. And even if they did, you don't give a crap about these characters. They're some of the weakest, mediocre characters. I've only liked one or two of the squad mates in general, and it's just such a freaking boring game at times. Like, the dialogue really doesn't make a difference. It's just a really weak RPG. This is how, once again, like I said in my Skyrim video, it's trying to appeal to more people, but it's doing it during a time period where that they should have learned from previous games that did that, and they didn't. They just screwed it up more. Even if this game was in a better state, I don't think it would be good. Even Scott and Sarah Ryder are very forgettable, generic main characters. Like, it's really hard to top the characters of Mass Effect 1 through 3, and I know it's just they just get one game, and I'm sure they'll maybe do something cool with them unless they screw up again with the next Mass Effect game. But for right now, I do not think it is bad. I disagree with those who think it is better than Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 is really strong a game in general. And for all the cons that it has in the day, even its ending, which they did eventually fix, to an extent that is, I'm sure people still don't care for it. And it's just not like Mass Effect 3. I honestly enjoy Mass Effect 3 even over, and I find even the characters that people don't care about in the Mass Effect games, even newer ones, like James Boyega and stuff, I still find those characters more interesting and more memorable than frickin' the new characters they introduced in Andromeda. Like, Vetra is like, well, Vetra, maybe PB or Jol, they're kind of generic. I hate the design of Jol's race. It's really ugly compared to what we've gotten before. Even when a race had ugly designs, it was at least unique and still somewhat cool and made sense in that universe. I just don't feel like that same thing translates very well to Joel's race. Joel's race is like really terrible, and it might be also the thing I said previously, where the textures and the overall like quality of their design, they've only put certain details, because Joel looks like the best. He's the best designed in his race, so obviously they put time and detail into the actual companions, but almost none to the other people. But I feel like the other Mass Effects did both, so it just feels very disappointing, and once again, constantly reminds me I'm playing a video game. While stuff like your Nomad or whatever vehicle is better than the previous videos from previous Mass Effects, they still found a way to make land vehicles work, as well as that didn't really seem like it mattered in the whole of the game. So yeah, and with all these other problems, the sense of danger, terrible ass fake RPG elements in the dialogue system and such, only the gameplay being good, but the enemy AI and the enemies not complementing it enough. Um, the story being weaker, the character development being weaker, not really a sense of danger, a plot twist that you see coming miles away, open world that has terrible puzzles, as well as frickin' feels like a Ubisoft open world, the way a Ubisoft open world is structured, or multiple open worlds. And while the game looks really nice at times, I do not care when those other elements are not complementary to the game, but also are effective in a very negative way. Also, another thing I want to bring up that I think Angry Joe looks kind of like a dumbass even further is Angry Joe gave Starfield a 6 out of 10. I can see why some people would give it. Starfield is kind of like Death Stranding for a lot of people, where it's like we have a hard. Some people, I can see why some people are going to not like it as much, but at the same time, I don't agree. And now that means Starfield is worse than Mass Effect Andromeda, which I don't agree with that. Starfield is much better than Mass Effect Andromeda. Even with glitches on PC and stuff, Starfield was still better. Because not only did Mass Effect Andromeda have that stuff going on, but Mass Effect Andromeda's got all these other problems. At least Starfield has different choices and courses certain story elements can go and such, as well as it has sense of danger and is willing to kill off important characters if it needs to. So, yeah, Starfield is better even than Mass Effect Andromeda. Isn't that freaking sad when there's been so much hate for that game, yet I can sit here and say it's better than that, and now Angry Joe kind of looks stupid because his old review was a 7 out of 10 for Mass Effect Andromeda, but his Starfield is 6 out of 10. Unless I'm missing something there, but it looks kind of dumb. That's all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed this video nonetheless. Tell me what your thoughts are on Mass Effect 3 compared to Mass Effect Andromeda, and I'll see you next time. Bye.